So we're going to get started in the next minute. Just to give you an understanding of what we're doing here today is we've got Dominic Kuza here with me. I've got Stephanie Nofar on the phone right now. Unfortunately, we couldn't get her to be able to be on with the interview. So we're just going to go ahead and start broadcasting and let everybody know what this is for. So the intention of this is so everybody understands, and we don't want to go back and forth with this. This is nothing to do with explaining any vaccines or the cure for anything that we're facing right now with this epidemic right now that's happening in this country. This isn't about politics, so please don't bring none of that to the table. We're not talking about this, that. This is simply for two core issues that we are facing amongst the other problem that we're dealing with in this country. We got to think about our physical health, and we've got to think about our mental health. And the reason that it's so important is because we've only gone the first week in right now, right? So with this first week in, we really haven't even hit the curve yet, both with the situation going on with the virus, nor the patients that everybody's going to have, along with their physical health right now. That can be a factor too as well. So we're doing this so you guys can ask these people that we brought in some questions and also turn to them, and definitely you guys could DM them after, get in touch with them, and it's all in confidentiality. So first, I want to introduce Dominic Kuza. Dominic, if you can let the viewers know what you do and what your involvement to this interview is.
So my name is Dominic Kuza. I have a Master's of Science in Exercise Physiology. I also have a minor in Physiology, and I've had about 9 full courses of physio under my belt. So when all this came about, I found that we really needed to focus on, our nutrition health and our physical health as well, because that's vital to having a functioning immune system. Going to grocery stores, seeing things like vegetables and fruits still on the shelves, that's really something that's, very surprising actually. Sure. And those are the things we should be eating the most right now. So Junior asked me to come on today just to give you guys some tips about how to be healthier and consume nutrient-dense foods, and get into some real research that I've compiled up, and just more guidelines on things. So that's what we'll be talking about today.
Awesome. So just so everybody knows, there's many of us that depended on going to the gym, depended on our well-being, being able to exercise and get in and do this. Also, being that we've now had to go through stocking up and getting all the grocery that we've needed to get, it's unfortunate that when I talk to some of my friends that are store owners, supermarket owners, and you hear that the pop is being depleted, right? But the water is still sitting on the shelf.
Yep.
So with him being on today to be able to help us, he's going to be able to let you guys know some of the vitamins that you can take that would help build up your immune system, some of the stuff that you can take to keep your health at bay right now, because again, we don't know how long this is going to take. Could this be 1 week, 1 month, 1 year? We don't know right now. We definitely have a belief in God and saying that He can save us from all this. And at the end of the day, we still have to deal with modern science to be able to come through for us and give us a hand. Again, if you guys can share this out to people, please just share it. Use the share button at the bottom to let people know. So that way, whatever Q&A that we can get, we'll be happy to be able to answer best that we can. So Dom's going to give you some stuff that you can do currently at home with your regimen from either working out or at least being able to keep your diet going. So if you want to give him some of that stuff.
Yeah, and then after, I want to explain some things that I've been seeing on Facebook, like people buying certain supplements, thinking they're going to provide some health benefits and immune benefits. So I wanted to get on some real science on that, just so you guys aren't misled by anything that's going on through all this craziness. But to focus on things that we need to do to stay healthy right now, number one, you should be eating nutrient-dense foods. So when I'm talking about nutrient-dense foods, foods that have a lot of micronutrients, a lot of vitamins, a lot of minerals, just natural foods. Like we were talking about, I keep seeing grocery stores completely gone of pasta and things like that, but things like fresh vegetables and fresh fruits are still on the shelf.
Right.
And these are things we should start consuming daily now, to help our overall health internally. Also, sleep is something that is super important. Just because we're quarantined doesn't mean that you should be staying up all night, long nights and whatnot. You should still be getting your adequate amount of sleep. Another thing big is stress management.
Sure.
Stephanie's going to go more into that, but that's a huge vital role in immune health as well. And also physical activity. This is a chance for some people to adapt more of a sedentary lifestyle now, and that is not going to be beneficial for your overall health. Doing physical activity is really important. On my website, I have 3 free home workout programs. I have one that's completely body weight, one that requires very little equipment, and then one that's more for women. So those are completely free on my website, teamkuza.com, and they're very easy to follow. At the bottom of each, there's a video description on every single workout,
Sure.
So you'll be able to learn how to do all of that stuff.
Sure. Now, what, obviously some people, came into this situation, hadn't worked out at all, but why is it so much more important now to be able to help benefit your lifestyle with working out in this situation?
Ron, I'm going to touch on that actually. I did a pretty big post on hydroxychloroquine and zinc. But back to Junior's question, it's very important now because of how little our activity has become.
Correct.
Now, if you weren't somebody that worked out before, but you still worked during the day,
Yep.
you still had a good amount of steps going on and things like that. So now that we're taking you out of work, putting you in the house, we're having this activity level drop even further. So our physical activity is even dropping to a level that is completely sedentary.
Right.
Which now would be a very good time for people that didn't work out to at least do a little bit of something.
Sure.
Just to keep up with what they were normally doing through their jobs and whatnot.
And give us some examples of, like you said, you have some workouts that are available out there. Just give some examples of what people can do to try to stay fit. Because not everybody has a gym in their house. And it's even funny, one of the doctors, Matthew, Don, he just hit me up and said, hey, you think I can come work out Saturday at your house? And I was like, you got to ask my brother. But personally, for me, I don't use that. I was using Powerhouse Gym and going there. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the things that some guys could do or women could do to be able to help with that?
We could do push-ups, just body weight squats, things like burpees. There's a whole lot of different body weight movements that are really easy to do for people. Even if you have just a little space in your house, you could do high knees, jumping jacks, butt kicks, all those kinds of, they're very simple movements that I'm sure we all did as kids in gym class.
Sure.
That we could start doing now.
Sure. Now we talk about the fitness side of things, right? Before we jump into getting even with supplements or using any type of vitamins, right? How important is the diet right now? And what are some of the things, like you were saying, besides fruits, vegetables, it seems like right now it's a little harder to get your hands on chicken breasts and other things like that right now, but what is the importance behind it? Because I know cereal they've been cleared off the shelves.
Yeah.
And that's not the greatest thing. What people don't get, from what I understand, is the sugar part of it.
Yeah,
right?
all the processed sugar and stuff like that.
Let's get into that a little bit.
So a lot of those things are, detrimental to like your gut bacteria, and gut bacteria goes a long way with, supporting your immune system and supporting other things. But, back to the nutrient-dense foods, talking about fruits and vegetables and things like that, you want to be consuming these things because majority of Americans are on a diet that is very lacking.
Okay.
So when we start eating more nutrient-dense foods, we see an increase in their immune system, in their, overall daily energy, things like that. And that's why these foods, they contain a whole variety of micronutrients, which are vitamins and minerals that processed foods don't have.
Right.
Or have very little, just enough to get an approved label to be on the shelf.
Sure.
So that's why these foods right now are very important, because again, we're in a very sedentary situation. We're in a very closed situation. And then a mental aspect might come into it, stress eating, things like that. You will gravitate towards nutrient lacking foods that are more tasty, which would be like your junk foods, your sweets, things like that. And that will have a negative effect on your immune system, on your health, on all of that.
Right, and most of this cereal is processed in GMOs, genetically modified, which also affects your immune system too as well, right? It is, if I mean, from what I've seen, majority of, because of what is based inside that, comes from a lot of stuff that's produced with GMO.
Yeah, a lot of soil deprived stuff and things like that.
Yep. So how does that when you say adverse, like what's the adverse effect when you're eating it? So some of our viewers, so you get to know, it's actually you're hurting yourself right now, and you're subjecting yourself to hurting your immune system. So when you say the foods that you're mentioning, give some examples of some meals that may replace some of this bad stuff that's out there.
Like right now, I would highly suggest eating at least 1 to 2 servings of fruit a day.
Okay.
So maybe a cup of strawberries twice a day, or a banana once in the morning, and an orange later on in the day. With all of your meals, I would try to have green vegetables with. Also, bell peppers are really good, and the colors of them have really good polyphenols in them and things like that. So really, just like a meal for me would look like a protein. Right now, I'm eating a pretty good amount of beef, so I would eat beef, and then maybe a mix of broccoli, cauliflower, squash, things like that. The more colorful you can make a plate, the more nutrients you're getting.
Sure. And now what I'm seeing too, because of the garden store that I have customers that are actually coming in through the doors now and buying actual seeds to garden in home with too as well. And it seems like everything small, from like your arrow garden to other things, can be done to be able to create that and help some of that, so that it's always on hand. Now the big thing is we're adults. We understand this, right? We're understanding the importance of doing this, right? We need what can you give the sense of urgency to the parents so they can pass this on to the children? It's the children also that are being affected, because it's so simple to give your cereal and your chips and other things, but I can't stress the importance to it. Even though they have a stronger immune system, right? Some of them versus some of their elders, right? What can we do to help promote that for them? What's easy ways that you've seen to do that?
I've noticed I have clients that have that are moms that have kids, and they try to get their kids to mimic their diets with them, and they actually just try to make eating those foods more fun. So they'll create, like, if they want to serve them strawberries, they'll blend the strawberries, freeze it, and serve them like a sorbet. So it's like, in a sense of them eating ice cream, but really they're getting a full serving of fruit.
Okay.
So those are some creative ways too. Vegetables are harder to get into kids because I just seen it. They just don't like it sometimes.
Sure.
But I would suggest mixing your entire meal with the vegetables, not having them just on the side.
Good.
So as they're eating through the food, the vegetables are included in their bites of food.
Sure.
So that's a really good way to get these kids to eat these foods, because at the end of the day, kids like tasty stuff.
Right.
And that's going to be a challenge. They're going to go through for you could use things like smoothies even.
Yep. See, Stephanie just commented and said smoothie. Yep, that same timing, which is good. So now let's get into talking about some of the stuff that you can use. Again, we're looking to explain preventative. This isn't 100% guaranteed. Neither one of us are doctors here. We're just giving you what basic science has always given us to protect ourselves from any of this stuff. So let's get into that. Looks like Ramos has already got a head start on some of this stuff here. So if you want to explain to some of the people like what you've given me and what
So I'll start first off with vitamin D, specifically vitamin D3. So in research, we look for things that are done in meta-analysis. Meta-analysis are very big papers that are collections of other papers, all trying to prove a point. In a meta-analysis I have here, we see 10,933 patients. We saw vitamin D supplementation as how it would reduce the risk of acute respiratory infection. And for this, we saw a few interesting things. The overall protective effect of vitamin D supplements against acute respiratory tract infection was a 12% increased protective effect. This was in patients that were given a bolus dose. Now, a bolus dose is something that's given once a month or once every 2 months. Now, this is a meta-analysis, so this is a collective amount of studies. Another part of this study, overall protective effect of vitamin D supplements that were given daily or weekly increased the protective effect to 19%. Now, here's the really important one for especially us in Michigan.
Sure.
Overall protective effect of vitamin D where vitamin D deficiency is under 25 nanomoles per liter. That's just a blood marker number. And we're given weekly or daily, the protective effect increased to 70%. Now, why is that so important? Because we're here in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I looked up some cohort studies and some small studies to show the prevalence of vitamin D deficiency in Michigan. A study here that looked at 323 patients, December 2010 to June 2011. Both male and female were below normal. We were insufficient at 33.2% and deficient at 35%.
Wow.
Those under the age of 30 were the most deficient in vitamin D.
Okay.
And then another study looked at 2,839 women. Most women, 92.5% in the study, documented insufficient levels of vitamin D. So now where this goes here, vitamin D is very essential for the regeneration of our epithelial barrier. It's very important for immune cells, like our lymphocytes, neutrophils, and monocytes. Supplementing vitamin D3 in Michigan is something I would highly recommend.
And that's because of the lack of our sunlight.
Now that's because of the lack of our sunlight, and then for days like this, even if it's sunny, we're still completely covered. Only our face is showing, so we're still not absorbing enough.
Right.
And that is something that is very important for our immune system. Now, you'll hear about people always talking about, I want to boost my immune system. How do I boost my immune system?
Sure.
Boosting your immune system is not something that we can do. Now, when I say that, when people market things as boosting immune system, it is because you are already deficient in something.
Okay.
So you're boosting to an optimal level. That's what's happening. So now your immune system is a very amazing biological system. And it functions best when nutrients are present and doesn't function as best when things are in deficiencies.
Sure.
As we saw with vitamin D here. So things that are boosting your immune system are actually because you didn't have it.
We're depleted.
We're depleted.
Sure.
So if somebody has a nutrient lacking diet, starts taking these vitamins and minerals, what's happening is you're just bringing yourself back up to baseline.
Normal level.
That's what's happening.
Sure.
So boosting immune system, I would take that with a grain of salt, really. I wouldn't focus too much on things that claim to boost your immune system. I would focus more on nutrient-dense foods and things like vitamin D supplementation just because of where we are located. That's one thing that I really wanted to clear up because right now people are taking advantage. Oh, buy this, buy that, it boosts your immune system. If you're doing all these nutrient things along the way, you should be pretty optimal with your immune system at that point.
Gotcha.
You know, that's baseline, I'm talking.
Yep.
Not in specific cases, but that's one thing that I really wanted to touch on.
And just to remind you guys, please share this if you can. Let everybody know what we got going on. This is just the first half. We've got Stephanie Nofar coming on in a few as well to talk about the mental health, while we've got Dominic over here giving us on the physical well-being of ourselves right now. Also, like you were saying, and young lady Linda Bahri Edgar, she had mentioned vitamin C, D, and echinacea. So before I got to the D, actually, it's great that she mentioned that. I did boost to back to regular levels, right? I got vitamin C I've been taking. I do elderberry. I want to get some of your input on that. I did elderberry. Along with elderberry, echinacea is in it too, and I was taking stuff from my from my upper respiratory as well too. And I do probiotics.
Yeah.
Okay, so probiotics takes a lot of people, and I want you to touch on that. What goes on in our gut? Our gut holds a good amount of bacteria in it as well too. So if you can touch on that, that'd be great.
Vitamin D is best. Yeah, you're all right, Nina. You need to create a chylomicron. That's something that when you eat fat, it helps carry these fat-soluble vitamins. So vitamin D, you'd want to eat with a fatty food, something like peanut butter, avocado.
Chocolate,
just chocolate, even things like that, just to have a better absorption rate. Echinacea, I haven't done much research on echinacea, but elderberry I've been seeing flying off of shelves right now.
Yes.
So I wanted to touch on elderberry a little bit. Research shows some promise against influenza and some bacterial pathogens. Some experts will warn against. So when you take elderberry, it upregulates inflammatory cytokine response. And why this can be an issue possibly with what we're seeing today is because severe patients with what is going on today are seeing what experts call a cytokine storm. So it's a huge response from your immune system yourself. So it's making symptoms even worse. It's making things more complicated. That's what they're seeing today going on. But elderberry is a modulator of cytokine response, so it can upregulate where needed and downregulate where needed. Okay. So there's a little bit of promise with that. I wouldn't take it unless you were infected with if you were sick. Okay. So if you were sick with something, that's when I would implement elderberry. It's not going to do much as a preventative, because it's a modulator of your immune response.
So it's going to
upregulate if it needs to.
Yep.
And it's going to downregulate if it needs to.
Okay, so it's more of a curative than, would say, a preventative, more or less, for elderberry.
Yeah, so I pulled up a study that showed it had inhibitory potential for some influenza viruses, and then also other pathogenic influenza viruses, because there's obviously different types.
Sure.
So elderberry, I would suggest things like taking it if you actually are sick. Because again, it's a regulator of your cytokine response or an immune cell response.
So I see a question on there. Somebody asked, Ramon's asked, probiotics. He said they help with vitamin absorption. Is that correct?
So I pulled up a study because I knew a lot of gut health was going to come up. The role of intestinal microbiota and the immune system. This was another meta-analysis that looked at several data confirming that gut bacteria is engaged with an interaction between our innate and adaptive immune systems, but primarily in our gut. So our intestinal innate and adaptive immune systems. We saw that gut microbiota interacts with both of these systems and plays a pivotal role in the maintenance and the disruption of gut immune things. So what that means is it, again, it's more of a modulator. It can upregulate and deregulate when needed. Now, to touch on gut health again with foods, I would focus on eating things like Greek yogurt. If you're lactose sensitive, Greek yogurt is actually lower in lactose because of the way they strain it and make Greek yogurt. Yep. I would eat fermented foods, things like kombucha, kimchi, sauerkraut. Probiotics, I would use something low in a count combined with an intestinal yeast. So something to feed that bacteria to grow. Because probiotics, the more research I've been reading on these, if they're not taken daily, they're pretty much useless.
Sure.
So I found one that was pretty good that was a low amount of probiotics with a prebiotic intestinal yeast to help the probiotic grow a little bit more, which would increase everything, absorptions and whatnot.
Can you give some of the people some recommended products by any chance?
I could post them later.
Cool.
I could post links to all that stuff later.
Cool.
But I am not a doctor.
Yeah, no, for sure. Just to be able to give some of the...
Ron's talked about hydroxychloroquine and zinc as a potential treatment for what's going on today. I really dug this up. I actually found out about this back in February. The end of February, my research portal popped up and said South Korea came out with a study using it back in February with their patients, and it could possibly be a reason why they're not seeing as many deaths. that and the extensive testing they did. So the way hydroxychloroquine would work, and zinc, how you were mentioning, so when the virus attaches to your healthy cell, it releases messenger RNA into your cell. Now, your cell doesn't know the difference and will take this messenger RNA by a ribosome and translate it, allowing this virus to replicate. Now, what happens is when this happens and this translation happens, we get something called RNA-dependent RNA polymerase, which is otherwise known as replicase. Now, studies in vitro, which in vitro is just in a petri dish, it's not in a human. Those studies showed that zinc could actually inhibit this enzyme and stop replication. But what's hard is getting zinc into a cell is very difficult. Zinc is an ion, and it needs to be carried through a gated channel on your cell membrane. So taking zinc supplements provide little benefit intracellularly. Like, it's hard to get that zinc inside of a cell without help. But there's other reasons why you should be taking zinc supplements too. But back to hydroxychloroquine. Hydroxychloroquine is also known as part of the medication is it's a zinc ionophore. Now, what a zinc ionophore means is it helps open these channels so zinc can enter the cell. Now, they don't know if that's a reason why hydroxychloroquine is working or if it's another reason why. There's still more data that needs to come out on all that. But it does look promising from what I've been reading. Also, as a preventative measure, I know France came out with a study showing 24 patients that were treated with hydroxychloroquine, 75% of them were not contagious in 6 days, which is actually remarkable, just because of this incubation period this thing has. So that's all the real study and science behind this hydroxychloroquine and zinc combination.
Somebody asked, it says, I heard fasting and putting your body in ketosis helps. Is that true?
Helps with what?
What's the question? What would you be asking that it helps with what? The virus or just your immune system, Rita? Let's see, we'll get to her in a second. So I just want to make sure you guys just hit the share button. Make sure you get people to watch to get some answers here just to help out with daily life right now while we're going through this. Also, I just want to give a shout out to all the nurses, the doctors, anybody in the health system right now that's giving us a hand right now. We have many Chaldeans that are on deck right now, risking their own lives right now while dealing with this. They're on the front line. They're risking everything with the lack of their own masks, their own ability to be able to protect themselves. And mind you, they still come home to families and friends and all that too. And they're out here doing the best that they can. Shout out to all of you. Shout out to, especially some people like Nick Yaldu. He's been very proactive with this, giving a lot of information out there too that's been helping. To him, to the others, to Rena, to Stephanie's husband. Stephanie's going to be on giving us the mental side. So many people that we want to give a shout out to.
Yeah.
Don't feel we're not mentioning.
They're your front line.
Yep, they're your front line. So you guys got to give them the utmost respect and do whatever you can to give them a hand because they're working extended hours right now to try to give us a hand.
Yep.
She asked for both. She was asking, does it help out with both when she was asking about putting your body through ketosis? She was asking, does it help both, like probably the virus and all that? I don't know if that's something that you would be able to answer. It'd be hard to answer at this point.
Because I doubt there's any study that shows anything about fasting and this virus specifically.
Yeah.
I don't know about fasting and immune system either. I would see maybe a reduction in internal inflammation, but I wouldn't be able to answer that.
So right now we're going to go ahead and now move forward. We're going to bring Stephanie on. She's unfortunately we couldn't make the video happen live where we were able to connect her on with us. So we've got her on the phone right now. She's been listening into on this call, on this live video. Stephanie has an office, Hope and Counseling, and she works day in day out helping people with all type of mental issues and other counseling situations. She's no longer doing it from the office right now because of the situation that we're facing. So she has been doing some of the stuff through remote, through whether it's phone calls and other methods, but she just has not been able to. So we'd like to welcome Stephanie onto this call. Hi, Stephanie. How are you?
Hi, guys. I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. We want to make sure, can everybody hear her? And if you guys can please share this right now. She's going to give in the side of the mental situation right now. Mental doesn't always have to mean that just like you're going crazy and out of your mind, but it also has to do with anxiety, it has to do with frustration, it has to do with anger that's being built up right now. There's so much unknown right now, and a lot of parents are now dealing with dual responsibilities right now because you have your kids are home. You have both parents right now that whether they're off from work or some of them are hurting financially right now because they're not at work for their jobs right now, and they have to deal with all that too. So Stephanie, if you can start giving us some hand in on what you've been dealing with and how the people can cope with this.
So yeah, we are. Our office is actually closed, but we are doing phone sessions for all of our clients, and I'll tell you, people are still okay with that because they need the support. I mean, I was on the phone for about 7 hours yesterday. So people really need the support. So I know that we're going to go through kind of phases of this. I think, you and I spoke about, in the beginning right now, where we have a lot of unknowns. So the anxiety is going to peak right now. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. Everyone is, spreading rumors. There's going to be a shutdown. We're not going to have groceries. We're not going to be able to do anything. We're not going to go back to school. Like, all of these things are happening, and so I think the anxiety piece of it is going to be super, super high right now.
Sure.
And then we're going to go into depression. We're going to go into that. Okay, now I've made the best of my situation. We've been home for 2 weeks now. What do we do now? Life feels like it's never going to go back to normal, and people get bored. You were talking about, eating healthy. I feel like we're all just eating because we're bored.
Yes.
And that's going to happen with depression too. That's, a side effect of depression, of anxiety. We tend to lean on food.
Agreed.
And with everybody stockpiling food, we need to get rid of it too.
Yep.
And so, and then we're going to get into like the stage of anger where like, we're angry at people for leaving their houses. We're angry at our parents for leaving the house. We're angry at, whoever started the spread or who didn't, come through for us in time, or the president or the governor, whatever it might be.
Sure.
So I think we're going to go through a lot of different phases in all of this. And, to touch on some of the things that Dominic said, we definitely need to get good sleep. I've noticed that people are up all hours of the night because they're bored. They're watching TV, they're watching a movie, they're watching a series, things like that. And in reality, that's not doing anybody any good.
No.
And it makes you lazy the next day. It makes you more irritable. You have less patience. All of those things are going to happen when you don't get enough sleep, when you don't get good sleep.
Sure.
And right now we need the most, rest that we can get.
Sure.
I think one of the biggest things is don't spend too much time on social media.
Right. Just to touch on that, I bet you if everybody looked at their phones right now and look at the time usage on their phone,
it's insane.
It's insane. It's probably skyrocketed at this point in time.
So crazy.
Yep.
And that's where all the rumors are happening. That's where a lot of the anxiety is coming from because everybody is posting whatever, the first line that they read. If it sounds good, they're posting it.
Yep.
Right.
And so it's not helping at all.
Yep.
It's creating hysteria. We already know this.
Yeah.
Let's get into that. So let's start with the first thing that's starting. Fear factor / panic right now. How do you start coping with the fear factor because of the unknown? Where do we start with that?
So there is a lot of unknown, and a lot of people have told me, including like my own mom or my cousins or whatever, they're like, oh, there's going to be a shutdown, they're going to enforce martial law, all of this stuff. And my response is, okay, I'll worry about it when they do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like be realistic with your expectations. In reality, we can't do anything about it.
Yep.
So let's be very, very real. All of us Chaldeans have at least one extra freezer in our houses.
Sure.
We may not have all the meals that we want, but we have every meal that we need.
And many of them are good cooks. Many of them are also
Absolutely.
offering. Many of them
And
offer
so-
too. So
So in reality, like, be realistic with your expectations and with your worry and with your fear. Because if this does happen and we are stuck at home for 2 or 3 weeks, honestly, I think that we're all going to be okay. I don't think anyone is going to struggle. Not, at least Chaldeans, in my opinion, we are probably the most fortunate people on earth.
yeah,
You know, and so we're not going to struggle. I have enough tahata to last me at least 2 months.
and if it's not you, let's be real. Your aunts, your uncle's
Absolutely.
wife, somebody. That's the biggest thing. We've always been accommodating when it comes to feeding and helping one another out. So let's be real.
Absolutely.
As a community, we've pulled through other things. I believe we can turn to each other for those. That's kind of, to me, that's minimal as to what should start the fear is the food, because we do have enough people, you know. And to touch on that, Carlo Kuza made a good post today. He said, stop thinking that you got to bounce from one store to the next to accommodate what you normally eat. Just get what your necessities are right now and be able to get in and get to working on that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I say be realistic. Like be logical. Don't just believe the mass panic.
Right.
You know, like the whole toilet paper thing.
Yeah.
Why the hell is everyone is buying toilet paper like it's going out of style? I don't get it.
Yep, I agree
Because
with
the
you.
coronavirus does not cause you to have diarrhea. That's one. 2, if you have the coronavirus, I'm pretty sure your water doesn't stop.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so like it doesn't make any sense, but nobody stopped to think like logically, why do I need to buy all of this?
So how do you deal with it? Like what's a good way of starting to overcome that panic and that fear? I mean, not always turning to medicine, but just in logic thinking. What
You're quarantining at home. What's the difference between you and us?
Sure.
Not very much. You know, so play that all the way through. You know, and you'll realize that your fears are kind of irrational.
Right. Rama's made a good point. He said our parents lived harder in Iraq. We can get through this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we've already come from that background, right? So to survive it, you know, to be able to get through it. Now, I know before we even get into the parents, a lot of people are starting to build PTSD right now. They don't really believe that it may affect them or don't even know what it is, but they are facing PTSD. Can you touch on that a bit?
So actually, I've seen other parts of PTSD. I actually have a few clients who have come from Iraq in the last 10 years who were quarantined at home because of war, because of different things that have happened with ISIS. Sure. And a lot of them are feeling PTSD right now, just being, you know, kind of like
almost all over
ruled by
again.
the government, and you know, having to watch, you know, where they go and what they do and who they're in contact with, or being by themselves or whatever it might be. And you know, the hysteria in the grocery stores, like all of that is very traumatic for a lot of people that have come from these types of countries or these types of places.
Could you explain to people what PTSD is? So because some people are mixing their health with like more of a flu or other things versus what PTSD may be doing to them, or any type of anxiety is doing to them right now.
So PTSD is basically having like symptoms or like flashbacks of something traumatic happening. And I know we might not think that this is traumatic, but for kids, for example, they have no idea what's going on, so they're going to feed off of your energy. If they see you panic, they will panic.
Sure.
If they see that you are buying out the grocery store, they're going to know that there might be a chance that they will go without food.
Sure.
So we are causing the trauma, really. And so we have to make sure that we tone it down to make sure that they are not feeling that way. So
I've dealt with it before. I understand it. And I want it from your perspective. How do others help others through this? What are some preventatives and curatives to PTSD or any type of anxiety right now?
I think right now people need to stay positive. Because if we are going to play off of each other's anxiety and trauma, then we're never going to survive this.
Sure.
You know, we will have effects that are going to last us our entire lifetime if we can't help each other. So when one person is struggling with something, we need to be the positive person. And sometimes those roles might reverse.
Sure.
You know, but we need to be more positive with each other instead of causing the mass hysteria. We need to be the ones saying, okay, logically speaking, what will this actually do to us? Like, this is temporary.
Sure.
You know, I think reminding everybody that it is temporary, that, you know, it doesn't have to be something severe. Nothing, you know, our reactions don't have to be that severe.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You know, but it's gonna depend on us as parents, as friends, as cousins, as family members, friends. You know, like, we need to calm each other down instead of just adding on to the fears.
Now,
I think some of my friends are irritated with me because I've taken it lightly in terms of my reaction.
sure.
I haven't left my house. You know, I told you before, I'm pregnant. I'm not leaving my house. There's no way in the world. You know, and so I'm taking it very serious. Nobody has come over. I haven't gone anywhere. But my reaction is not as severe as everyone else's because, hey, if we're going to get locked down, I will deal with it when we get locked down.
Yep.
Sure. There you go.
That's how I've been thinking this whole time. I've just said, when a bridge comes, I'll cross it. Like, I don't need to worry about this stuff right now. We got what we needed.
Like I said, we have what we need.
Yeah.
There's nobody in our community is going to go hungry.
Or broke. Let's be real.
Broke, absolutely.
Listen, we'll all be able to back each other up. Now, I want the viewers to know, you know, you're taking it as a more calm approach, not just because of your background of what you do for a living, but also for the fact that I got you on the phone and I've got Dominic sitting here next to me, right? And between you two, you both have a spouse that's actually involved in the medical field right now that is more at risk than anybody else that I know around me right now.
And I think we're less worried about it.
Yeah, I'm saying to you guys are so calm and cool, you know what I'm saying? Calm and collective, right now. And
I feel like a lot of people are worried for us even more than we are actually worried. My husband works in a hospital. He's an internal medicine doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling someone earlier, they have like one box of masks for each floor.
Mm-hmm.
Sure,
so they are using
nothing.
the same mask all day long. They do have confirmed cases at the hospital that he works at.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that they did is they don't allow them to walk in with scrubs and walk out. So now at least I don't have to like strip him down when he walks in the house.
Sure.
You know, but he's going straight to the shower. He's, you know, taking his precautions.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, he can't not go to work.
Sure, that's he's.
My wife couldn't get an N95 mask yesterday. She's.
My husband just ordered some online. He bought 6 of them for $60.
Yeah,
it's crazy, but you know what? It's worth every bit of it for what they're doing, just to be able to get that protection, and that's crazy.
You know, and we have a baby at home, and I'm pregnant. That we are the most high at risk like population.
Every
here.
which way you are right now. Yes, you are every which way.
You know?
So right now, how are people reaching out to you, and what is some of the measures that you're taking to help these people right now?
So what we're doing is our phone lines are always available. We're trying to accommodate everybody as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Myself and I have 4 other therapists in my office that are all doing phone sessions.
Okay.
And we're, like I said, I was on the phone for 7 hours yesterday.
Sure.
And you know what? I would do it again today, and I will do it again tomorrow if I need to.
Sure.
You know, because I do know that it's a crazy time. These are unprecedented times. Like, we've never done this in our lifetime.
No, never
you
have.
Know?
Mm-mm.
And I think that the need for mental health services is going to increase as the time goes by. Because right now, everyone is on this high, like, I'm going to homeschool my kid. I'm going to be super mom. I'm going to work from home. I'm going to, you know, provide for my family as a dad. We're doing all of that, but eventually that's going to feel like it's getting old.
So I have a question for you, Steph, that you're bringing that up right now. Are you seeing a rise in parents calling you yet right now because of this? And if so, what are some recommendations you can give them? And before you answer that, viewers, we'd like you to please share this to the other people you've got to watch what's going on. And also, we would like you to engage and ask Stephanie some questions while we've got her on right now. And this is your time to be able to, you know, ask away and see whatever help she can offer. So again, Steph, what would be the remedy that the parents can get with right now?
So one of the main things I think we talked about is like sleep, but also like self-care. You know, waking up in the morning, getting dressed, having your cup of coffee. You know, I know that we all want to give our kids 110%. And honestly, I'm like mind blown by what parents have been doing this week. I mean, it's wonderful.
Sure.
But we have to make sure that we're making time for ourselves because we can't pour from an empty cup.
Yep.
You know, so the longer that we can go, the more we can give to these kids.
Yep.
So really, self-care is very important. Make sure I remember I saw someone post something about, you know, not being sure when the last time they washed their hair was.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we all fall into that because we're home. We don't have to, you know, get dressed up or put makeup on or whatever it might be. But if putting on makeup makes you feel better, or if showering and washing your hair does, then do it. Make sure that you're giving yourself time and explain that to your kids. You know, just like I'm giving you guys this much time, or we're doing these activities, I need to have my own time too.
Sure.
Because we need to raise children that are empathetic as well.
Sure.
And this is the perfect opportunity.
Sure. Now, any recommendations? You know, we've got, you know, this is going to go to the younger viewers as well too. You know, you have kids right now that are looking to graduate 8th grade, senior year, college right now.
Yeah.
So what can you say to them as they're not going through the norm of being able to part ways with people that they've spent 8 years of their life or 4 years of their life and so on?
So one thing that they do have a benefit in is that they have FaceTime. They have, I don't know what other things that they have,
Skype.
but they
Yep,
are
Skype,
able to keep in
Facebook
touch a lot
Live,
more.
Zoom. Yep, all those.
I read something earlier that said that the seniors that are graduating this year were also born when 9/11 happened.
Oh, wow.
Like they came into this world during the tragedy, and they are like the one big part of their life
Yeah,
is
19.
happening during a tragedy.
Wow, that's crazy.
It's kind of crazy to think about it, but if you really think about, like, you know, encouraging students, encouraging them that, like, life isn't so bad.
Right.
You know, yes, these are tragedies, and yes, these are bad times, but the world is a great place. The world has a million opportunities for them.
Sure.
You know, and after this is over, because this is temporary,
Right.
their life will go on, and it's going to be beautiful.
Exactly.
Yep, and I truly
You
believe
know?
I truly believe with what you're saying. As a country, you know, like I said before, and I'll say it again, it's solidarity right now. But we are a powerhouse in this world. We have some of the best medical science in the world, you know, and best advancements that we've ever seen. You know, we've gone through some tough times. We've gone and beat a lot of viruses in the past. We've had an epidemic happen in the early 1900s, but look how much far we've come through from that point in time. I mean, everything, you know, what we want to understand is also there is still others that are out there besides the coronavirus, you know, the COVID-19. I mean, you've got Ebola, you've got, you know, there was the Zika, there was so many
My
other
son and I
things.
had influenza A 2 weeks ago.
Exactly.
I had it last year.
Yep, influenza
Yeah.
too, and I know, and there has been people that have died from influenza, you know, before.
Absolutely.
So there is things out there, and yearly there is just the standard flu, and just so you know, so the audience knows, I have a person very close to me who went through the flu, and the flu lasted this person over 3 weeks.
Wow.
By the end of her 3rd week, as she started going through recovery, she started building anxiety and depression
Absolutely.
because of this. So people know it doesn't just have to do with this moment and anything that has to do with just this virus. Being sick in general
Gives you that kind of
can give you that, you know, that sense of feeling down and out and have it, you know. So have you dealt with people just in general throughout the year besides this moment?
Oh, absolutely. Like, we have a lot of people, not just, you know, in our community, of course, but everywhere, that have, like, debilitating sicknesses, that can't go outside, that can't go out often,
Yep.
you know, who are struggling with different illnesses throughout their life.
Yep.
You know, this is a perfect opportunity to reach out to those people and show them that, like, you understand what they're going through in a way. You know, maybe not at that level, but, you know, to show them that, you know what, I realize that you go through this every day, and I'm going through it for a temporary time in my life, and it's difficult.
Sure.
You know, because it can cause a lot of isolation. It can cause a lot of depression, you know, and so, like, this also should teach us a lot of empathy and sympathy.
Yep.
Because we really don't know how it feels. Like, I feel like I used to say, like, oh, I barely go anywhere. I don't have that many friends. And then when I stay at home now, I'm like, dang, like, I was doing so much before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't even realize, like, how much we do and what freedoms we have. And I know, Junior, you had posted something like that.
Yep.
You know, like, we take advantage of it so much.
Yes,
Imagine
we
the
do.
people that go through this on a daily basis.
Right.
You
Yes.
know?
Yep.
In a way, like, in my opinion, I have a client who had some injury that made her like bedridden for like pretty much her whole summer of her senior year.
Sure.
And so she was talking to me about, you know, what's going on now. And I said, you know what? I think that you are the most prepared for this because you understand what it's like to sit out while everyone else is doing their thing, you know, and you got through it.
Sure.
You know, you got through that, and so you're more prepared to get through this. And so maybe share what you did to get through your summer
to help others.
Yeah, you know what? You know what's crazy? If people want to get a dose of reality, they can. We have a couple charities and a couple of community centers and stuff that help us. You can go see the stuff that Martin Manna sees on a daily basis. You can see some of the stuff that Calc sees on a daily basis. You want to talk about this momentarily, what's happening right now? When you got to give somebody food for them to be able to cook for Thanksgiving, and you just got to realize, you know what I'm saying to you? Or when you got people who can't even speak the language, can you imagine what they're going through right now with the uncertainty or don't even know? You know, so there's more people that are... Yep.
Something that I recommend to a lot of my clients right now is to create like a gratitude journal or like some way of, you know, like realizing what we have now.
Sure.
And, you know, what we did have before all of this that we're going to be able to go back to.
Yeah.
You know, just to be more mindful of everything that we do have, even through this, you know, quarantine.
Yep.
Like, this is nothing. We have so many things still.
Sure.
You know, and even if that gratitude journal is better than nothing, you know, just to remind you of all the things that we still have.
Yep.
You know, it can help the positivity in a big way.
Yep. I agree
and getting together with like your family, like don't just have things for your individual kids to do or your mom or dad or you. Like do things as a family. This is the time. Like we have been given this time out of life.
Sure.
And like, let's use it wisely.
Yeah.
Because at the end of this, if you feel like you got nothing out of it, no benefit, then it was wasted.
Yep, it was wasted. Because I agree with you on that. It's almost like life is just reset. We just basically got a whole new slate right now to look at the way we deal day to day.
Yeah.
And how we treat people day to day. Because even that, now you got to be more compassionate for humanity as a whole, right? You got to be able to see that and say to yourself, man, I'm so much more dependent on people and friends around me right now that, man, I just, like the togetherness right now, like you just want it to continue that much more after this crisis goes away, you know? And
reconnect with your kids, your family members, the people that are in your home. We are so, consumed by technology.
Sure.
Like, put those things away. Make sure that you're having time with your family. Like, let there be a benefit. After all of this, you can say, yes, I was quarantined, but it did this for me.
Sure.
You know, instead of just thinking of it as such a, depressing time, make the best of it and be positive about it. You know, learn something about your kids. I know, like, people have been joking around about, like, oh, my husband or my wife have stayed home and I've learned that their middle name is this or that. You know, like, it's
That's
funny.
Crazy. And you're married to each other. Oh, my God.
It's funny and all, but, like, do that with your kids. Learn something new about them. Learn about what they like, what they don't like.
Sure.
Learn about your spouses. I know, like, someone was saying that in China, like, after the quarantine was over, that there was, like, a very high amount of people filing for divorce. We could be that community too.
Yeah, we can. It's very easy to fall into that trap.
It's very easy because guess what? We don't spend a lot of time with our spouses nowadays. If both are working or if one is working, and so use this time to, like, do something fun with your spouse. Like, see a different side of them. Play a game. Be silly. Be, just fun.
Yep. Get closer. That's the whole thing.
I mean, my cousin, she's doing an amazing job with her kids. She didn't know what to do with them the other day. She took all of the girls' hair ties and they were flicking them to see who could flick them the furthest.
Yeah.
And her husband got involved in it. Like, that's what we need to be doing.
Yeah.
Like, it's something so silly, but you know what? His kids got to see him in a different light.
That's great. Now, people can reach out to you. We'll post up on our in the comment section or wherever it is. We'll make sure we'll have that out there and available for people to reach out to you. So as we're turning to wrap this up right now, because we've definitely given a lot of information for people to be able to absorb and take this on. Is there anything that you can give to the viewers and last before we close this out?
Just an FYI, most, if not all, insurance companies have now approved telehealth. So people don't need to worry about cost. We're obviously always willing to work with people anyway.
Cool.
But we're standing by. We're waiting for people. We have the capacity to take on more people, you know, and it doesn't have to be something that they come to every week. You know, if they just need it for right now, come to us. We can help with a little bit. You know, we have some skills. Sometimes you just need to talk to someone who's not your family or friends. You know, that's what we're here for.
Yep, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate having the likes of you, Dominic, others that are helping. Like I said, there was a lot of people that are in our community that are in the medical field right now that are doing a hell of a job right now. Again, you have some of them giving straight answers on social media versus the misunderstanding that some people are putting misconceptions out there. So they're cleaning that up. Is there anything you want to add in before we take off? Either one of you, do you have Dominic? Anything?
I think back to the social media stuff. It's a big game of telephone right now.
Oh my goodness!
You remember the game you played as a kid, where one person told somebody in a line, and it trickled down all the way to the end.
Sure.
And if it changed, it changed, and it always changed.
Sure.
That's what's going on with social media right now. I've gotten multiple texts for weeks now about a shutdown happening in 24 hours. It's been 7 days since the first text. You cannot believe everything you're receiving. And then they're claiming they're coming from, look, when it happens, it happens. Worry about it then, cross that bridge when it comes.
Yep.
That's how you should be approaching all of this.
Yep.
It's a big game of telephone with all these rumors, and I wouldn't believe a single thing.
Awesome. Thank you. And Steph, you got anything before we take off?
It's a crazy time, everybody, we're all doing the best we can. Be patient with yourselves. Be patient with other people. This is a time where we can really show love, or we can show a really bad side. Let's try to show love.
Yep. And before we close out, usually the question gets asked to our interviewees, and this time I've never been asked this because I've been on the other side of the fence, but I'm going to ask this and I'm going to answer this. So we usually ask when we finish off, what does it mean to be Chaldean, to the person that's being interviewed? So I'm going to answer because you guys have both been on before and have answered your guys' ways. I'm going to answer it like this. I'm going to say it very simple. This is Chaldean. What we're doing right here, right now, sticking together, the community coming together, helping each other out, this is Chaldean. This is how I always want us to be present we are, but future to be. Togetherness and help each other out and be there for one another, and I think that we will be able to pull through anything at any time. Doesn't mean just whether it's a crisis of somebody losing a family member or going through a traumatic accident or anything. This is Chaldean right here, and that's what I'm proud to say that this is what we do daily. And I thank you guys both for being able to put your time in right now and giving this last hour to help out. For the people watching, just so you know. My brother's going to be on the Naughty Live in a bit right now. He's going to give you the other side of it, which is what's going on in the community as a whole, both from the business aspect and through just day-to-day life right now. So you guys get a chance to watch him. He'll be coming up. Anybody's got anything to ask, you got Dominic has his webpage that you'll be able to go to. He's got social media that you can catch him on. Same with Stephanie. She's available to you guys. She said herself she's there 7 hours a day at least to be able to do this for you guys. So again, much love to both of you and to everybody else that's helping out there. Thank you guys. And
Thanks for having us and giving us this opportunity.
Thanks for everybody who watched and shared this to be able to help our people out and the community out. It goes beyond the reach of Chaldeans at this point in time. Absolutely. Signing off, I'm Omar Binno, Dominic Kuza, and Stephanie Nofar. We'll see you.